Good afternoon, Professor Vyasa.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Now I am there.
Yes, great.
Hi, Preetha. How are you?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
Good, good. And how are you, Zubin? Good to see you.
I'm fine. Good to see you too.
Great.
All the best.
So, just to update you all, we are now live and we are also live streamed on YouTube and other platforms as well. And the recording is also on. And with the permission of Professor Vyas and both of the special people who are there with us for this session, should we go ahead and start the webinar?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Sure. So, a very good afternoon to one and all. I, Nitish Das, extend a very warm welcome to architect Jabeen Zacharias, principal architect at Jabeen Zacharias, past president, Institute of Indian Interior Designers, Professor Dr. Preetha Ravi Sree, associate dean of the Pearl Academy, Professor Pradyumna Vyas, senior advisor, CII, and president-elect of the World Design Organization, and to all our esteemed participants. Before we begin today's session, we would like to convey our wishes to the entire design fraternity for the World Industrial Design Day, which is celebrated every year on 29 June. This year's theme of World Industrial Design Day is Let's Get Emotional is indeed a very interesting. It captures the essence of what it is to be human and how our emotions impact our interactions with the outside world. With this, I welcome you all to today's session of Design Talk Series, organized by Confederation of Indian Industry in collaboration with World Design Organization and Pearl Academy. This series has been conceptualized to sensitize the Indian stakeholders the benefits of investing in design. The purpose is to not only give boost to the existing design sector, but to expand the thinking process on how to be more innovative and creative. We are happy to share that CII has been earnestly pursuing the strategy for promoting and leveraging design towards accelerating economic growth. CII has diligently worked to bolster and support the economy and society by demonstrating the vital role of design in making businesses more competitive and public services more effective. We are pleased to have World Design Organization's partnership for this initiative. Our supporting partner, Pearl Academy, with an illustrious 31-year legacy, Pearl Academy reigns as the best design institute, propelling students to soaring heights across creative domains that is fashion, communication design, product design, business, interiors, film, and gaming as well. With this, I would now like to introduce Professor Pradyumna Vyas, a global known design leader currently holding the position of senior advisor at Confederation of Indian Industry and president-elect and board member of World Design Organization. Brings with him more than 40 years of experience. He has also been the former director of National Institute of Design. May I now request Professor Pradyumna Vyasa to give his welcome address, please.
Thank you very much, Nitish. Indeed, it's pleasure to have Juvin and Preetha, and I'm really looking forward to their conversation. I know that design is moving in a next orbit, what it was earlier and how future, looking into the sustainability aspects and other aspects, it is really becoming imperative to educators and big design thinkers. And Juvin, everybody knows that she's passionate about it, and I think students are going to get tremendous insight with this discussion. And I'm not going to take much time because the more time should be given to them. So I welcome you both, welcome both of you, and I'm looking forward to having this listening this conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Pradyumna Vyasa. With this, now I would like to briefly introduce our key speakers for today's session. Architect Jabeen Zacharias is an architect and interior designer of international repute. She graduated in architecture from Trivandrum College of Engineering and pursued her higher studies at the New York School of Interior Design. She stirs her 35-year-long practice. Jabeen Zacharias architects from Cochin and has satellite offices now at New York, Dubai, and Bangalore. The firm has a unique project profile bridging across many design typologies with a list of prestigious projects and clientele. Apart from being a full-fledged architect and interior designer, Ms. Jabeen is also a multifaceted artist and activist. A popular columnist for many dailies like Indian Express, she is a strong champion of design democracy of the people, by the people, and for the people, which she believes can shape a brave new world. Now, I would like to introduce you to Professor Dr. Preetha Ravi Sree. Dr. Preetha Ravi Sree is an accomplished architect planner with over 23 years of experience in industry and academia. She is adept at strategic design making and performance driven approaches, managing housing projects, optimizing land use, and planning sustainable infrastructures. With the motto of inspire, engage, and learn, she encourages her students to hone their critical thinking and comprehensive skills to sustainable development. She collaborates with organizations specializing in environment and sustainability for supporting faculty development and industry exposure to students. Her current research focuses on assessing the livability index of different communities to ensure affordability while maintaining the quality of life. Now, I'd like to invite Professor Dr. Preetha Ravi Sree to initiate the conversation with architect Jabeen Zacharias. Over to you, Professor Preetha.
Thank you, Nitish, and thank you, CII, for making me part of this Design Talk series. I think it's a wonderful initiative, and we should have such discussion. And in a platform like CII to have this Design Talk, it's wonderful. Now, let me start by welcoming Ms. Jabeen Zacharias. It's a pleasure to moderate this show, which is for us to know from your professional journey of more than 40 years on about crafting spaces for sustainability and human comfort, etc. As a distinguished architect and interior designer with almost 40 years of experience, your insight is really valuable. So now, could you share with us how the journey began, your career, and the pivotal moments which shaped your approach to crafting spaces?
Thank you, Preetha. And before I start, I think it's a great privilege to be here in the Design Talk on a very special day. And yes, let me humbly try my best to contribute whatever insights I have towards topic. The question as to how I started my career. Well, listening to that introduction, you might have imagined that girl who was so passionate, was so committed and focused on being an architect right from the school days, working hard, never letting go of that first rank, all through the 10th standard board with a straight rank, and then 12th standard board where we actually have to branch out into the profession. Just imagine that small town girl putting everything into it just to make sure that she gets admission into that's where the thing happened. Not architecture, electronics engineering. I didn't want anything else other than electronics engineering. Why? Because that's how in maybe 1978 and 79, that time, students didn't have that independent thinking. Everybody wanted electronics, and so I also wanted electronics because it was the most coveted branch. And I got 97.8% for my 12th standard board. And there were only 16 seats for electronics engineering, but I was quite safe because the previous year, the breaking mark was only 96%. So I waited. And in those days, actually, the results would come in a newspaper. There was no internet or anything. And I remember that morning, I just was actually sweeping the front yard of my house, which was a common practice. I used to do that every day. And then the newspaper came, and I looked at the newspaper, froze, because I had lost electronics by 1 mark. My mark was the breaking point, and I sat there, tears streaming, silently, like I think it might be like 2-3 hours. And my family, my friends, nobody dared to come and even try to comfort me because they knew how heartbreaking it is. But then after 2 hours, it is very, very strange that it's not sadness or sorrow which hit me. It's kind of such a rebellious bitterness. And then the next question is, what is my second choice? I didn't have a clue. Therefore, I had to take the copy of my application. And this word stared at me, architecture. Just because I was so sure about electronics, I didn't even give any second thought, but just filled the application from the alphabetic series in which these branches were offered in the prospectus. So I was hearing that word or seeing that word for the first time. I grabbed a dictionary, and there was my first definition of architecture. And it was like the art and science of building. I instantly hated it. Building? I didn't have any such engineering blood in me towards building or construction. I come from a family of teachers. But then again, I told you it was a bitterness which landed on me. My father asked me whether we need to look at some private colleges and try for electronics. No, I'll take architecture. And that's how I ended up in architecture. And the story doesn't end there, because you also asked about pivotal moments. So this is the first pivotal moment which happened. And the second happened during the day of interview. The colleges usually have interview boards before you let or give admission to these branches, right? So on that particular day for architecture, you won't believe it was like the final judgment day, as it is put in a Bible or so. God sitting at the center, good people to the right, bad people to the left. Principal Hariharan sir was very nicely seated at the center. The right side was a panel, admission panel for electronics. Can you believe it? And the left side for architecture. And when my name was announced, I could instantly feel the silence. Everybody was looking at this fool who had 97.8 marks but opted for architecture, which nobody would choose in those times. It would be their last choice. But then I soon found out that the silence was for a different purpose. Hariharan sir, he told me, "Oh, I have good news for you. You had chosen electronics. It was your first choice. Somebody has kind of left for IIT, and therefore it is here. You have the first privilege, so you can right away join electronics." And you won't believe, my father almost fainted near me. I heard myself say, "No, sir, I want architecture." That was the kind of state I was in. And then the class started. Yes, I continued to hate architecture. And every other week or other day, a peon will come to the classroom with a sheet saying that the principal wants Jabeen to go because there is another somebody who had left. Fifth time, you won't, kind of again believe this. Everybody thought I was arrogant, but it was because I was so brokenhearted. When somebody came to call me, I wrote on a paper to the principal saying that please don't disturb me again. And I sent it through the peon. The moment the peon went from the class, I knew I had, stepped over all limits. And yes, he came back after 5 minutes. The principal wants you. So I went there all ready to receive the suspension or whatever he would give me. And then I walk in and I see him sitting calmly. And the thing he told me is, "Jabeen, you have a beautiful handwriting. Will you please do our college certificates? We will pay you 100 rupees per month." That's a huge, but that is not what hit me. The kindness, the smile, which he understood. This is not coming from any bad side of me. And then he said the most profound thing, which is the next pivotal point, which happened. He said, "Sometimes you don't know what is good for you. Somebody else knows. Give architecture a chance." And that is when I started giving architecture a chance. Looking back, look at my marriage, look at my everything which happened in my life. This is the best moment which happened to me, losing that 1 mark. So I think architecture is a calling. So that is it. Now, going into the profession, if you want some pivotal points where, related to career, when we are in a design class, we are in architecture, we are dreaming constantly. And we are coming up with fancy, fascinating answers. And my thesis project was like an indoor stadium to seat 30,000 people, wherein the arena will slide to the sides, revealing an underground swimming pool, which separately had like 15,000 people capacity. This is all fantasy, right? And it was like Kenso tank is shell structure and all that. So we were living at that level from the college. But my first job was at Greater Cochin Development Authority as an assistant architect. The first project which was given to me was to design houses for the lower income group and the economically weaker section. So that is when reality struck. How every inch, how every brick mattered, how responsible, what a big responsibility it is for us to, kind of design. That architecture belongs to people,
Yeah.
not just for the niches.
So, how has your personal definition of design and perspective evolved over your career? Like I can see, like, we start with the dream and we do design in a very elaborate manner. And then when we start practicing and when we see the reality and when we have a certain budgets, a certain constraints, and then we work. How has that journey been? How has that been evolved? How it
So, as I told you, the first definition which I ever saw was on that particular day in the dictionary, which said the art and science of building. So there is a lot in that, that is a profound definition which I now understand. But as you rightly said, when the class begins, when we are taken into the possibilities, and when we are dared to dream, because architectural courses, design courses, yes, it is highly on the imaginative side, maybe that realistic, but that is the only time when we can do that. So that's also important. So architecture became frozen music. So those were the parallel kind of definitions which were happening during those 2-3 years, initial years. But then fourth year is when our head of the department, Professor Umman, he was not there, not here anymore. So he introduced this definition. Architecture is organizing spaces for human beings. That was there in my heart. That somehow touched my heart. And as a student, I had this very, very different approach. When everybody starts or worries with the look of a building and how the spaces or even interiors look, I always used to do planning, interior planning first. And that was kind of recognized and acknowledged that this girl is doing this way. So that was my way. But the latest definition, which latest means maybe like for 20-25 years, the definition which I carry close to my heart, which nothing has changed till now, is that design is to better an existing situation. Design is to better an existing situation, which means we can design a house, literally design a house, but there is no design unless there is a bettering of the situation which we already have. I hope you understand. There is a situation for everything. So as designers, it is not for us to just kind of translate or modify and, roam around that territory, but better the situation. That is when you can really say that you have designed something.
Okay.
Otherwise, I think, yeah. Yes.
This you are talking about architecture. Now, what is the role of interior designer? Like architecture is shaping the built environment, bettering the life of the people. Everything is there. Now, where does interior designer or interior design program come into the picture? How relevant is that?
Okay, so this is a big question. In fact, from the shoes of an architect and from interior design, particularly as president of the Indian Institute of Interior Designers for almost 3 years, there was always this question to address. Sometimes architects think that interior design is something secondary, and interior designers think that no, interior means a lot. Okay. So my way of thinking is it's like not separate. Why is architecture done? The whole purpose of architecture is to get an interior. So earlier, when we were not kind of qualitatively concerned, we wanted shelter. So architecture would give the shell and we were happy. But today's society, today's people, we just don't want security from wild animals or forest fires. We want security from our inner insecurities, right? There are the life which we live is complex. So interior design is the kind of space which protects. And the essence of architecture is to give that space. So I think architecture is the shell and interior design is the soul. So you cannot separate it. So that's how I see it.
So how do you term interior architecture?
Mhm. Yeah.
We have architecture, which is the shell, and we talk about interior designing. And then where do you think like interior architecture stands? Because there
Yes,
are multiple.
I understand. So there is this terminology called interior architecture, and
Yeah,
then there is interior design.
yeah,
Sometimes we think that both are the same, but actually it is not. Interior architecture and design, they are different in the extent to which we intervene into a space. Interior architecture means that is being evolved by the architectural properties which is already inherent. We need to know about structure, we need to know about services, we need to know about architecture to kind of carry that particular properties and enhance it. It requires deeper knowledge, longer study courses, and yes, 3 year, 4 year, 4 year, I think is the minimum. But
yes,
interior design, like when you look at that, it's not interior architecture. It can be simple life, which can even be modeled by a housewife or maybe a 12 standard with some kind of an orientation course because it is not rocket science. People are naturally skilled designers in many ways. They need to be told that's very important because we cannot service all these people 1.5 billion. So we need the natural skill of people as designers to go and work for our country, right? So interior designing is a little bit lighter but equally powerful field because what it does to the emotion or the responses or the actions and thoughts of the inhabitants inside is critical. So it is about the intervention we do in both spheres.
okay.
Yeah, that's
So,
it.
do you really think interior design and architecture can really impact our societies? If so, then what is the approach that one needs to follow to integrate interior design and design thinking processes to have a greater impact on society? I know you have explained it like, we have to build for people, the society, the needs and betterment of their lives. But how much does we actually impact the society?
Yeah. So here I think you have touched two critical terms: design thinking,
Yeah,
interior design, and its impact, right?
yeah,
So here, first of all, I would really, really love to kind of share my understanding about design thinking. Design thinking, um, some people, like, even I, maybe a little back, thought that it is about thinking about design, how we design. But that's not it. Even corporate companies or, stock companies, they all have this design thinking.
thinking,
It's
correct.
another term which is about how to design our thinking, how to design our thinking in a very, very structured fashion, knowing everything about what is existing, not requiring us to invent the wheel all the time, gathering all materials which can help accentuate those data, putting different options, researching, testing, and coming with best options. And this kind of design thinking is very important for interior design or any design field Because here what we are dealing with, even though if maybe we think that we are dealing with spaces, but we are dealing with people. It's very critical to know that when we say spaces, interior design, everything, we are not shaping or designing spaces. We are designing people. And I think, I can take the help of Winston Churchill here. So we first shape our buildings, our spaces, and then they shape our people. And when we say that we shape our people, we shape their thoughts and actions. So look at the power we have in design. Designing spaces is designing people, is kind of making them design their thoughts and actions, which is the only way in which we can impact society, the deep thinking, the deep understanding which we can inculcate through our spaces. I will just, it's also said that, I think it's von Boris said that design is an engine for social change.
Social change. Yeah.
Social change. So look at the power we have. If we do truthful interiors to shape people, to modulate their thoughts and actions for a better planet and a better tomorrow, look where we can go. That is why design is important, and design thinking on design is important.
So what are the decision makers ought to consider to enhance the societal well-being or promote environment sustainability? Or, I mean, like what we are seeing now, it is like, full pollutions and poor quality of life and other things. So how the design decision makers should practice or consider while making any such decisions? Like theoretically, when we talk about user experience or design thinking, it's all there, but we are not seeing practically it is getting um, applicable, no? So how do you think that we make a shift or change or evolve in this spectrum?
Yeah. So I think that shift very much lie in the vocabulary we use in our spaces.
Okay.
A space is not a dead entity.
Hmm.
It is continuously in conversation with inhabitants, in occupants, right?
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
even say that it's extension of ourselves.
Mm.
So actually, there are so many problems which we face, even though most of us, or even like we are into it, therefore we consider all this. When we talk about the general lifestyle of people, unfortunately, everybody is immersed in a world of their own where everything is fine, and it is human tendency to shut down all this chaos. So, global warming, climate change, all this resources, scarcity of it, all these are like not real for them.
Yeah.
But when we kind of introduce that kind of responsibility in choosing our materials, choosing our concept, I think eventually those spaces will talk to them. And if we go back into the previous definition, it can converse with this occupant. One thing is, like, the world is like in a very, very complex spot. We are into one of the richest times, but we see that most of the CEOs of even the most richest companies, they suffer from depression, right? Increasing suicidal rates. All this come from somewhere within. And I think it is because they need healing. They need healing, and they need to be assuredly told that it is okay to be truthful and be there. Like, when we go on a holiday, we are very fine with very basic cottages, right? We don't want to have glass houses for our college, for vacations. If we go into a cottage with stone and rough floors, we are happy because somewhere we relate with that minimalism, that truthfulness. So I think the idea would be to bring that vocabulary in, and nothing is constant in this world. You know how the pandemic changed all the earlier notions about design of spaces.
So like you said, like, people are just used to certain things. Like we don't ask, we don't question, we are just get comfortable in whatever we have with us. So we're talking about global warming and everything. So even in that case, if we come to our home or like the space where we are, even this indoor air quality or the uh, people are not aware of sick building syndrome. So which is the quality of those indoor spaces. So there, what is the role of a interior designer or interior architects? Because I think that is the place where, as a architects or an interior designer, we come into the picture, creating that awareness or making the changes in the policy level or at the standards. We are talking about the glass houses, and they are all certified, LEED rated, and star rating, and everything is there. So, in Indian context, how do we contribute, and how do you think that what should be our action to be?
There are, I think, two scenarios here. For example, in our practice, sometimes you are doing a star hotel. We cannot say, why do you have to air condition this? Look at Vakmanapuram Palace. Look at the natural ventilation we have here. Look at how cool it is. It doesn't work. So there are situations, basically two, which we need to handle. And talking about star hotels and all that, each of the facets which we are looking at, whether it is air conditioning or automation or artificial intelligence, we have so many helping parallel sciences and services for us to imbibe good values. As it may not be from the like vernacular point of view, but in a different way, they all contribute. But where should we draw the line?
Yes.
I think even government should step in here. Last month, I was at the Taj Hotel discussing a project with the general manager. He is sitting in 18 degrees.
Yes.
He is fully dressed. I am shivering. Why would a tropical country like India go below 26 degrees? So there has to be strong norms, because to educate all this people, even designers and architects, into all these facets will be impossible. Therefore, we have consultants. And I will also tell you something. We cannot learn everything about everything, right? The definition is an architect is somebody who knows something about everything. A contractor is who knows everything about everything.
Everything.
Yeah. So it's different. So one of my opening sentence in any complicated discussion involving consultants, this will also be like, of a tip. I will say that I'm totally ignorant about all these sites. I may know something, but nobody should take it for accepted that I know it and therefore I will account for it. I want everybody, that specialist, to contribute. Tell me why and how. So, this is how you bring in collaboration on all these different aspects, which are all critical. But then it's also beautiful to look at the other segment where you don't need AC. They still follow the principle of natural ventilation, opposite window. Yeah. Natural lighting. And these people live more healthily, also connected to nature. So there also our climatology classes, principles, and all have given us enough insights into that. So I think it's a balancing act.
Balancing. And now, like, considering your leadership in the design community, you have been president for IIT and everything. We are keen to hear your thoughts on how organization can leverage interior design courses to enhance productivity and innovation. Like,
Okay.
we're on the same strand. So,
So I don't know whether you will agree to this. Designers are all very creative,
yeah.
but to a large extent, we are all private people. I don't know whether you can, because you may not realize it. I'm an introvert. Nobody can say that. But I like to be alone. Why? Most of us are like that. Why? Not because we don't like people, but because we are conditioned to dream, we are so comfortable in our dream zone. So we, like, people may say that she works very hard designing all through the day. For me, it is like beautiful hours wherein I can dream, right? So we are mostly private people who also may not be able to have a lot of conversation with others because we are also in a competitive field. So organizations, they give us a platform to come together. And as I told you, we are all creative. We have some idea, some take on everything. And believe it or not, because we are conditioned to think the design thinking through our natural aptitude or through our design courses, we have great ideas. And then when we come together, the spark, the energy is so much that, things can happen. And things can happen not at the individual level where you are catering to a single client who is as rich as a minister or a ruler, but people at large. So organizations provide this platform, give us this opportunity to think beyond individual projects and collaborate. And within the organizations, we collaborate, and there are collaborations happening between the organizations because we are social animals, right? And Yuval Noah Harari says that the reason why humans have progressed this much is only because of their ability to collaborate. Yeah. So coming together for higher goals and inventing each other, getting inspiration from each other. And these people, when we mingle with them, they are a delight. Together, what we achieve for ourselves, constant dialogue, and then so many projects which we do, which we can do for the sake of the masses. That's so very important. So I think organizations can do wonderful, and collaboration is a key word now.
Okay, so how can organization nurture young talent and encourage diversity? I coming from the academia and always with the young crowd or young designers, I really want to know what can these organizations who are collaborating, working for the people and for a higher purpose and everything can nurture this young talent. What novelty they can bring into the picture?
The first idea would be every organization has a vision. Like that's how it starts.
Yeah.
Then it has a mission.
Vision.
Then
Yeah.
it has different objectives.
It is.
Look at every one of those. They are talking about a bright future, right? And
Yes.
when we say future, students are our future. So, nurturing students, our educational institutions, hand holding them is inevitably a part of every organization's idea, portfolio, and dream. So, we need to have this continuous stream of leaders, thought process going on. So, we need young people to come and join hands. Now, what happens is we have great institutions, we have great faculty members, and we have very brilliant students with high scores. But there is a gap between practicing professional field or what lies there in reality and what is happening in the academia.
Academy. How
So,
do we bridge?
so we need to make it come together so that students, when they come out, they don't get the shock of it, but they will be able to seamlessly take on the challenges and move forward. Therefore, for example, IIID, they have this, what do you say, accreditation or affiliation portfolios with education students. We don't interfere into what you teach, or that we are not qualified for that, but we always go through your syllabus, advise on you. We conduct faculty training together, so
Yes.
that all the education institutions can have a minimum benchmark, handhold, and then progress. We also have student programs. We invite them for every one of our seminars and discussions. So yes, education, young designers is great priority for all the organizations. because they are the
future. No, but like, for example, for architecture, we have COA. For urban planning, we have ITPI. So there are a regulatory body. Now, triple ID or ADI, they are like a body for designers or for the interior designers, but they're not the, the regulatory body, like you just mentioned. So don't you think we should also have some body like that so that there is more channelization or the imparting the knowledge or whatever we are planning, have a streamlined process? Just think from your
Can I give a controversial answer?
Okay, sure. Yeah.
So, look at COA. They are a regulating body, and we all kind of, or at least few of us, follow those rules, but there are always ways to break rules. Okay. Now, it's nice to have a regulatory body, particularly for architecture, because it is one of the most dangerous professions in the world. Actually, it's Papanek who said design is one of the most dangerous professions in the world, because you can shape somebody, distort his personality, mentality, and everything. But from architecture, literally, it could be fatal. Our professor J.C. Alexander once told us, a doctor can kill a patient, nobody will know, his mistake will go 6 feet below. But if an architect does something, it will stand up for generations to come. Yeah. And then there could be fatal mistakes. We have come across many, right? So we need regulatory bodies, particularly when we deal with complicated or complex or large scale, medium scale, where lives are at stake. No? But look at interior design. As we discussed a little bit earlier, interior architecture is a little profound. You cannot go into an old apartment and start pulling off all the pillars because you want to convert it into a hotel. So there are structural elements, there are fire safety elements, all these things which people need to know, for which they need to have some basic educational background, and they have to be accountable. Their signature is important, and they have to be regulated. So yes, we need interior architecture to be regulated, which is already regulated by the COA. So Council of Architecture has different branches: landscape, urban design, architecture.
That's the masters, yeah.
No, even for example, interior architecture is a regulated, professional. What do you say? Yes, under architecture. So when I practice interiors, I practice it as an interior architecture, going through all the COA norms. But a middle class family, when they want to do a renovation, just do something which is really ordinary to just enhance it interior spaces. So you cannot actually say that, this regulation can help, because we are 1.5 billion. How many registered architects are here in India? We won't be able to kind of provide services if such kind of rules come. So what in IIID we do is we have committed to self-regulation. In IIID, in our organization, we have terms and conditions which we have set for ourselves as designers. So we give guidelines. So it is self-regulation. And yes, interior architecture, I think, will have to be regulated very, very harshly when it comes to big, projects and complex projects.
Complex projects. Okay, that's great. So now let's talk about from the nation's perspective, looking at our future or the broader impact of design at a national scale. How do you envision India's potential to lead in interior design globally? I mean, where do we stand as a as an interior design fraternity, if we compare ourselves with the global?
So here, first of all, I would kind of like to look at that word interior.
Mhm.
Because interior design doesn't come on its own unless there is architecture. And it doesn't happen unless there are allied fields like lighting design, product design, furniture design. So there are so many things. And
Acoustics.
we are good at all these designs, right? So maybe India
Mhm.
as a design leader, let it be architecture or interior design or furniture, we have such a lot of heritage and history with regard to each of this. And definitions or defining lines between ages like vanishing, right? So, to answer your question, 1/3 of world's best doctors, they say, are Indians.
Mm.
1/3 of world's best engineers are Indians. They also say 1/3 of NASA is India. So,
Yes.
what's stopping us from being the leaders in these fields? I think
Where,
India
no.
India is not run by its GDP. India is run by the DNA of its people. It's
Mhm.
amazing. And let me tell you, when I went for higher studies in New York School of Interior Design, the first finding I kind of understood is that there is nobody to match Indian brains, right? So I don't know, I'm so proud of being an Indian. I have kind of almost always cried when I listened to national anthem. You know,
Mm.
Jana Gana Mana Adi.
You didn't.
I don't know how many of us listen to it with our hearts. So this is a great country with a history and heritage, festivals, and it's unbelievable. Crafts, arts, all these hubs we have, people. 29 years is our average age, whereas the entire world is suffering from the average middle age crisis, right? So
Mm.
we have so much to kind of aim for, hope for, dream for, and we are conditioned. We are the land of Ramanujam, zero, infinity, and even, so many. I think we easily can be the leaders because world now needs truth and healing. Gone are the days where ease is ease and luxury was the main kind of idea behind design. It is truthfulness, it is healing, and India is a land where we have so much to offer, and we are good at it. So
Okay.
that
So we do have future, like you said, we have engineers, doctors, best scientists are all from India. 1/3 of the world population is that. So you do think that soon architects and interior designer or the design professional will also be among
yeah,
them? Or
I
have
think
we reached there?
I think the only thing we need to do is to be us. Like, sometimes, like, we all know that we were running behind, imitating, or trying to become or absorb the same trends as was going on elsewhere. But our strength, our positivity, everything lies in who we are, the innate Indianness, which actually I can become so very emotional when I talk about it. So we are.
So you have offices in other places, right? In
Yes, yes,
Dubai and
yes.
New York and everything. So how is it? How is like, working in India versus working in
Yeah. So here, these are all like, it is like all by chance. I did the Le Meridian here at Cochin,
Mhm.
and the owner of Le Meridian had an office at
Okay.
Oman. Oman.
Okay.
He had offices at Dubai. So he was so impressed by what I did here. So I was taken there, and I did his house. He's a big guy, I mean, rich guy. I did his house in Oman, and that is the house which is most Omanish in Oman.
Okay.
Indian architect. I went there. I did the most Omanish architect for him. And soon there was like so many inquiries from the finance minister, from Sultan's brother, this and all that. So I attended to one or two of it. Then I said, no. Do you know why? It is just like painting the ceiling with 23 karat gold, this and that, which I cannot bring myself to do. You have to sell your soul to make money. Yeah. So that didn't happen. So I had this Dubai office, and he kind of supported with, because Kerala is very known for its NRI population,
Population
right?
is true.
So we had done a few projects for the NRIs here. So they were also there also. So it was easier for me to handle that. And in US, again, it's a very interesting example. My sister was there. She wanted to put a house in a 2.5 acres of land. It's almost forest with a brook and all that. And her only brief was that I want to hear rain. Yeah, because that was our old house. We used to dine in a veranda sort of space, not inside a room, a connecting veranda between the kitchen and this. She wanted the same thing, the feel of the same thing. And it was how this whole thing was spread out and designed. And soon there were inquiries. Like, people, even Americans, when they come, they know how being in touch with nature or, that kind of openness can help. So I started because she's also there, so I could have the necessary support of.
So you are talking about taking the local conditions or the nature or those context into the picture and designing, and that has helped you to set up practices in all over the world, and starting with USA to Dubai to India to Kerala. So how do you, what do you think about in India with the diverse climate zone? How can sustainable interior design practice tailor to local condition, and that paved the way for global leadership in eco-conscious architecture? I know you are practicing eco-conscious architecture, but then what are the steps or how this sustainable interior practices can be tailored? Because we have a general idea about like practices, and now how do we tailor it to local conditions?
So, one thing before I go into the answer, don't make me feel like a big person architect flying around doing this and that. I'm a humble architect. I don't do more than 4 projects at a time. So, I enjoy that process. So, yes, over the years I have done all that, but I'm very, very basic, very humbly kind of placed. Okay. So, and now talking about this eco-conscious architecture and all, that's the only way in which I have practiced. And that's the only way in which architecture and design is supposed to be practiced. Like Charles Correa said, every building has a root. Without that, it's not like music where you can go and play and come back. It has roots. That is how you get nourished. That's how these spaces can heal and sustain and nourish lives for its interior. So I think again the world in this space, but already it's happening. The pause is happening. That introspection is happening, and I think COVID also helped us do that. So we are into that, and I hope and I'm sure that everybody will kind of know that it is Satyameva Jayate, it's always truth which can sustain and be there. So I usually keep in touch with very, like low income group requirements also, wherein I do even innovate on, let's say, filler slab or some new technique, and try to build up on the old ones, because the old needs little innovation and it has to be uh, taken. So again, I'm now almost into this phase where I'm going to put a break into my professional career like an architect, and trying to take up issues and causes wherein I can actually spread these ideas, work with with them. Yeah. So yeah,
so you
it's
want to
time we give back. It's time
time to give through design.
Yes,
I'm
through
planning to give it through design.
So, for example, I have this idea which is soon going to be mooted. Like, doctors do design camps.
Yes.
We don't do that. And doctors do medical camps. We don't
Medical
do
camps. Yeah, yeah.
design.
Design camps.
But our villagers, our rural population, they don't have access to the COA regulated architects and interior designers, right? So, but a small sketch, a small advice, looking at their house, like why don't you put this door here so that you can add a bed more? That can change their life. So the idea is like every month, a car
Hmm.
full of people, maybe two architects, three
And
students, we go
yeah,
there, spend
yeah.
some time.
Time.
You won't believe during the time of floods in Kerala, so
Everybody
many
was,
casualties were
yes.
because the construction was not done with even the with basic
Basic
principles
principles.
followed. Here
True.
again, I think I have a point that we are culprits here because our population, our people, we were very good with building our own shelters, right? But at
True.
some point, we made building, construction, everything complicated. Building laws came, this and that, and we said, let us handle it for you. And we took this innate skill from people, but then we started catering only to a niche. So many were left there without being kind of given any assistance or any further chance to educate themselves. So it's time we kind of go back.
Yeah.
And even our students, like medical students, they go to rural areas and
Area
have
for the practice. Yeah. So,
our students, they are away from the basic realities of life. That is from where they should start. So going with students and practicing architects into villages with design camps happening like every other week or something. And
right.
this needn't be a single person, it can be taken all over in.
I think that's a very good initiative that you're planning to do. And I think that is how the organization can integrate with academia,
Yeah.
because students can be a part of this initiative. When you are designing, they
Yes.
can take it as a project, right? We do take different semester, different kinds of project. One of this could be, taking up a village or certain uh, marginal communities and designing for them. So
And
we,
one more thing, I was like listening to Mr. Nitish in his
Mhm.
opening address. Confederation of Indian Industries. It's
Yes,
huge. It's huge when you consider
industries.
the potential it can offer to our crafts and you know so many such industries,
Industries.
cottage industries can also
Yeah,
be
yeah.
integrated, and all this can be kind of oiled or
Mm.
supported by designers also.
Also, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it is a wonderful. That's what I was saying.
So
Like
let
it's
us
also a
catch up on these ideas.
idea of CII organizations like yours and institute like ours. We have added this in our curriculum. Now our curriculum for the interior architecture design has made a lot of drastic change. We are taking inclusivity into our
Yes.
domain, and we are working for that. We are not only talking about visually impaired or like physically handicapped people. We are also talking about the mental set of people, like ADHD and all these common issues that people are having. How do we integrate in our design philosophy? How do we design spaces for them also? But we need
Preetha,
this support.
Preetha,
Yeah,
I don't know whether it has dawned on you.
yeah,
There is a huge set of people now emerging who needs inclusivity. That's
yeah.
our senior people.
People, senior people also. Yes.
Now, there is a difference in the definition of senior people. We always had something for senior people like senior homes, this, facilities
Correct.
and
Old
all that.
age home and all
But
those things.
now, today's seniors are not wanting that kind of situation. They are active. They are
Yes.
active. They
Till
have
80, they're very
yeah,
active. Earlier, the definition was 60 above after retirement to
yes,
get
yes,
into that category. But now it's the definition has changed.
yes.
So,
And they
yeah,
feel like they are not being included in our
being fun.
conversations, in the way things are
That way,
moving.
childrens are also there. We do urban planning, city planning. The say of childrens are somewhere missed out. So, yeah. So, like we are running short of time. So, I will just quickly wind up with one last question, which is about our, we have this concept of design in India. Do you really think that can accelerate progress in interior design sector? Also, to what extent that Make in India campaign on manufacturing
Mhm.
can take off an impact?
Okay, so Make in India
Hmm.
was like well received.
Okay.
Design in India is the next step which
Hmm.
should happen.
Hmm.
And that can actually come with huge impact,
Hmm.
not just the design industry. Design encompasses every facet of our lives, right? There's nothing which design impacts.
Yeah.
So, design in India would be actually not just promoting the economic growth, which will be there in all segments, but it will directly have its benefit on the quality of design. It will promote huge or contribute huge to uplifting our crafts, our arts, our thinking. So India can become a design destination. We all run to China for
Yes.
manufacturing. It will be soon gone because we have the average age at 29 people who can be tapped into much more intelligence and education level here. So manufacturing can happen in India. Make in India will certainly
Definitely.
happen because the demand is going up.
Yeah, yeah.
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 Design in India means India is shaping people. As we tell, design is not just about spaces. We can shape
Yeah.
tomorrow. Yeah, so there won't be any avenue which will not be impacted by such a move.
So there is like you are seeing, that we will be able to achieve it because of the way the laws or the policies are reformed and the manufacturing in India is happening
Yeah,
and Make in India is happening. So that is byproduct. It's like, we will be designing in India also.
yes. For one thing, there are policies and guidelines which promote it. But even from a very, what do you say, for designers to survive,
Correct.
are we able to kind of compete with the Westerners with their Western things or Western tools? No, right? We have the Indian arts,
Yes.
crafts, heritage, textiles, fabrics, furniture products, everything. And
Yeah,
you won't believe everybody in the world is crazy for India.
true.
Everybody, you look at the way people are investing in India, coming to India, getting few scarves or a handicrafted small piece from India. I think Indians will have to open into the greatness of India once more.
More. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
and so designing in India will be
hmm.
the only way ahead for our
Okay.
design to survive. It is not just something which we can do. This is something which we have to do.
Have to do.
That's the only way in which we can
Design
go
in India.
forward.
Perfect. So like it's 5-3. So any concluding remarks, your thought on that you want to share with our audience, all our young
Yeah.
crowd that has talents who are here with us today?
I have probably two messages or two thoughts to share. One is my career being a lady architect. It was also always a lady architect, and I'm sure that is still seen as something like a restriction. I want to say that there is no
Really?
restriction like
Mhm.
that. Yeah,
Hmm.
and this is in our mindset. Uh, Actually, I'm married to an architect. So once when I was designing this or completing the setting up of a showroom for next day's inauguration, I was giving so many instructions to the contractors and everybody to do this and that. My husband was listening and he asked me, I had just started my own project. He said, do you think that these people will be able to do this without you? I said, what can I do? Because I have to come home and then look after my daughter and you, right? So he said, they don't pay you for being a lady architect. They pay you for being an architect. So that was huge coming from him, and I think he regrets it now. Yeah. So from that point of time, there was no
No
stopping.
locking back.
Yes. Yeah. And then this was huge. Like I was into inspection of Manipal College for
Okay.
COA, and I saw the works of students And if 70% of the most brilliant works belong to girls, right? So during our interaction session, I teasingly told the boys, hello, the girls seem to be much better. So a boy got up.
Nitish, can you mute?
IT, can I request if you can please mute them?
So a
Sorry.
boy stood up and said, he took the challenge and he said, but ma'am, we are so happy that they are doing fine because they all end up either marrying us or working for us. So this is something which actually kind of the lady students should know. There's nothing preventing us from as good or better than any other architect. This is a mindset which we have to come through. And the second message would be to maybe quote from Shankaracharya, who said, you cannot draw a line without changing the universe. You cannot draw a line without changing the universe. Also has another thing. You can change the universe if you draw the right lines. And as designers and architects, this is the power we have. This is how we can make a change. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. It was so profound. I think it's like all your talk and your inspiration. I am sure that it has motivated all our students who are pursuing this field of architecture or interior designing. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us. Over to you, Nitish.
Just 1 minute, I think
Sure.
before Nitish conclude, I was amazed actually. It's fantastic conversation. So much of insight is there. I must say that both of you, the type of questions and type of answers which have come, just you have already covered. But I think I would like Jabeen to reflect on two things which she has covered, but coming
Back
in
to
straight
that.
words is that responsible design and ethical design. And you did mention about the consciousness that my conscious doesn't allow, meaning there is some inside thing that you don't want to paint the roof with 22 karat gold or so. That is the value which you are talking about.
Yeah.
And I think it
Yeah.
is very important in today's time for the new generation to know about. You talked about cultural values, you talked about crafts and traditional knowledge which is so sustainable and which can really take forward. But I think new generation also need to be reminded that it is not market driven, that what market is asking you have to do, but somewhere your own values should be there, somewhere your professional ethics should be there. And this has to come in the institute itself, that they are providing the solutions, they are using some kind of ethical aspects into it. So interior is dealing with lots of luxury, interior is dealing with excessive material, and Jabin has talked about that I'm working for the lower income group, and it is always very complex to design when you have a limited resources, and it is very easy to design when you have ample of resources. So I think there is a lot of insight, but I would surely like you to reflect, both of you, on ethical aspect and the responsible design. If you can give some insight into the to the students who are attending this.
Yeah.
Who do you want to go first?
So first.
So I think like it was a calling, architecture was a calling for me. I'm a firm believer. I think that we belong to the Creator's creed, and the simple opportunity to be of service in itself is the reward. When we design what we are supposed to give back, forget about everything what we build in the material sphere. The only thing which finally matters is the happiness index. And this happiness index is really, really hard to come unless we put truth and an extension of our clients' innate things. The clients may not even know who they are. So it is for us to maybe bring out who they are, educate them a bit, and then only do what is going to kind of be there permanently, making them happy, because sooner or later they will otherwise understand that it was just a gimmick.
Yeah.
So I think I also firmly believe that, even in Indian, we say that students should be always poor, if they should be always hungry, because that is the main signature aspects of a student. Or like Steve Jobs said, stay hungry, stay stupid. So that is the mentality, or our kind of uh, state of mind should be. So I'm ready to. I never wanted any money, and in spite of designing this finance minister's house in Oman, where I have to get out from a lift and ride on a bike to reach the other end, I never wanted a house which would be more than 2,000 square feet. I would love to have a hut with thatched coconut leaves, because that is luxury. That is real luxury, to be in touch with nature, to be in touch with truth, to be happy without needing anything, but giving everything back.
Very good.
Yeah, I believe in that.
Pratha, you have some points to make on?
So what you pointed out a very valid thing, like, ethical practices. So we do have in our curriculum, even in the architecture curriculum or interior design curriculum, where we talk about professional practice. How do we practice ethically? So, but then that is just a mere course. To actually ingrain it in our students, into their value system, it has to be brought in from the level 1 when they start designing. So there are certain things which are legally correct. So we all try to go by the bylaws or whatever is legally fine. And there is sometimes we do compromise on the ethical terms and condition, which is more related to the values that we adopt or we feel like, because that is what the client demands, clients ask for. So you compromise on things. So how do you, so the only way we to balance is in academia, we bring in research and innovation. So that how do you ethically try to solve that issue that is there? Like we say, there is an abundance of material. Rich wants to have all the best luxurious materials, and the poor wants affordable materials. We compromise on the quality. To doing that research and innovate and find out how do we increase the quality of life of people, and how do we appropriate usage of materials. Bringing this balance is very important, and that will come only through your student's life or in the student's journey. We need to practice that, and we need to stress on those value system when we are teaching in our classes. Whatever projects we take, we do have like residential projects. We start at a level 1 to a future design. Now, how that future design which we are talking about can be a sustainable design, what materials we use. So bringing it as a part of your courses rather than teaching it as an independent subject will help us to bridge that gap and bring sensitive design component into students' design thinking.
Thank you. Thank you. It was almost appearing is that we must go on this discussion and
Yes.
cover too little time actually to have this. So thank you so much from my side. I think it is very much insightful, and I'm
Thank
sure
you.
that students are going to learn a lot from this. So over to you, Nitish. And I think we should continue. Jabin, this
Yes.
your way of looking at things is that this dialogue with CII and with institution like Pearl should continue,
Yeah.
because I also feel that the traditional knowledge in architecture, which is disappearing because of the mechanization of construction work, the way the skills which were existing in India, especially in Kerala, the wooden joinery and the roof making and the highly skilled people, their value is going down because of mechanization. How architects and interior designers can reinvent them in their architecture to continue that. Otherwise, thousands of years of skill will disappear in no time, and that is what I get worried sometimes. That in this whole era of mechanization, automation, we are losing out on something which is very, very region specific, very local material specific, very and it's a high end skill. It's making the wooden roof in Kerala, if you see, it's a very high skilled thing, and new generation is not getting into, and we are losing it out. So
Yeah.
it's also a responsibility of architects, designers, and thinkers to see that how we can make them relevant in today's context. Thank you so much. I think we need to have more such discussions.
Yeah, sure. As I told you, there's so much to do. Therefore, I am almost decided on, stepping out of the regular practice and following up on all this in full swing. So we will be in touch.
Sure.
Thank you. Yeah.
Wonderful. Over to you, Nitish. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Architect Jabeen Zacharias and Professor Dr. Preetha Ravi Sree, and of course our global known personality, Professor Pradyumna Vyasa, for being here in the Design Talk series and sharing the insights. I am pretty sure that this discussion that we had today is going to benefit a lot of audience, students, which comprise students and industry, and they will take takeaways over there. And with this, we will definitely have more sessions in the coming future. And thank you so much, everyone, for being here and part of this as an audience and taking kept several key takeaways from this session. We'll look forward to having a presence in our next sessions as well. Till then, stay healthy and stay safe. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.